Welcome back, everyone, to another phenomenal episode of the Vegans Who Lift podcast, brought to you by your two favorite vegan co-hosts. We have Brooke Sellers, aka Miss Meatless Muscle, and myself, John Thomas, aka the Bodybuilding Vegan. And today we have a super special guest. But first, let me check in. Brooke, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. So excited for this episode. We have Nisha, but you guys might know her as Miss Slim on Plants, her alias. I love that you have an alias like I do. She is such an awesome YouTube. I have been following her for a while now, and so many of her recipes are like staples for me. They're so good. So yeah, welcome, Nisha.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, yeah.
So we have no script. We just kind of run around and ask different things. So I want to get right to it. How long have you been vegan or plant-based?
Actually, vegan for not too long, but I would say vegan for about 5.5 years. But I was raised vegetarian all my life. So I never really ever had animal-based products, except dairy was the only thing I was consuming as a vegetarian. So yeah, you can say that's the only animal protein I ever had was dairy.
And look at you, you haven't fallen apart yet. So
No,
I just want to say on my side, when you're like, not that long, I'm thinking like, oh, a few months, maybe a year. Now, 5.5 years, that's half a decade. That's still, I would say that's considerably long. That's usually long enough that you're not gonna, switch back to not being vegan. Once you've done something for 5 years, you're usually probably gonna stick with it, at least when it's something healthy and good for you. So I just want to say thank you for coming to the green side. What I think I may already know the answer, but what prompted the kind of lifelong vegetarianism prior to that?
Oh, my family was vegetarian. So for me, by default, I was vegetarian. I was raised that way. And while I was being raised as a vegetarian, I just never had the curiosity to try out meat or like chicken or fish or whatever. I was always kind of grossed out by the flesh of meat, and I just didn't ever think I could ever have it. So yeah, that's the reason why I stuck being a vegetarian all my life. I just never really had the urge to try meat.
Okay, very interesting. Brooke, feel free to jump in whenever, but my brain is going like 500 miles a minute right now. I think for so many of us, we grow up eating meat and it's just considered normal. Like, I don't think many people wake up and realize, hey, vegan's the way to go. They wake up and realize whether or not they think it. Like, I've been forced to do something else my whole life. And you were, I guess, kind of forced into vegetarianism. Did you ever wonder, like, I wonder how a hamburger tastes, or I wonder what it's like to eat chicken, or did you feel like you were missing out on anything?
No, never actually. Actually, one time by mistake, I ordered a veggie burger and then they gave me chicken burger and I ate the whole thing. I didn't realize. But then after I learned that I just had chicken, I was so grossed out. I just couldn't handle it mentally. But yeah, I just never had the urge to try meat. My husband, when I met him, he was not vegetarian. He's a meat eater. He was like a big time meat eater. So when he would eat around me, it would gross me out a bit, and so I had to kind of get used to him eating that stuff around me. So that took a lot of time for me to accept that, because I didn't want to force my beliefs on him, right? I mean, that's not the reason how we met. We fell in love in college, university, and I just liked the way he was as a person, without knowing that he's a non-vegan or he's a meat eater. But so I didn't want to force any of my beliefs on him, and he never did on me either. But few times he did mention that I should consider eating eggs and stuff, and then I'm like, no, I'm good.
Well, where are you guys at now? Have you influenced him at all, or?
He goes back and forth, unfortunately, because growing up, meat has been big part of him. It's hard for him to completely eliminate it, but he has reduced his consumption a lot. Like he barely eats that often, like how he used to. So he's aware that it's not the best thing for him to consume in terms of health and how it impacts our environment and the whole cruelty behind the dairy and meat industry. So he's aware of that. So because of that, he's reduced his consumption quite a lot, which I'm okay with. That makes me happy. At least he's made that much sacrifice. But I'm raising my kids vegan as much as I can. My kids are kind of addicted to cheese, unfortunately, so I can't fully take that away from them, but they are, for the most part, like 80 to 90% vegan. So I'm proud of that they are following my footstep.
Aw. I think
I
that
love
this
that.
is already, we're like 5.5 minutes in, and we have something really important to talk on, and that's dating, relationships, like picking a partner. And there's a lot of vegans out there that will say, I will never date anybody that's not vegan. And that's totally within your right if that's how you feel. Um, for me, I think that it would be difficult to be with somebody like long term, like marriage, if they weren't vegan. But I do think that the argument should be made if you're vegan and you date someone that's not yet vegan, not only are you a great teacher and a great example for them, but probably if you're doing the cooking or some of the cooking, then those meals that you cook are going to be vegan. If you have kids, they'll be eating more vegan meals. And so by you not, like, if you had been on Tinder, Match.com or whatever, and only look for vegan men, you wouldn't have had the same impact. So I just want to throw it out there that you, just by being you, you're having an impact, and literally anyone listening to this, you can have an impact in your relationships and all the people around you just by being who you are. So I just want to say thank you again for being who you are, and putting this out there. Not only just you now, your kids, and then let's talk about social media. Like how did you get into that? Because that's a lot of who we bring on here, people that have big social media platforms that promote veganism.
Yeah. Actually, that's during COVID time is when I started getting really into social media, and I had the extra time working from home to do something. So, like fitness and eating healthy has been my passion for a while. So I thought, why not start sharing this on Instagram? That's how I started. I've always been a shy person. I never really liked the attention on being social media. I still don't. Try to stay away from it as much as possible because mentally it's very draining sometimes. So I really make sure I'm carefully following my feed, and I do my best to not be so much really into social media. But anyways, so I got into it in 2020, started sharing my plant-based meal ideas with people, and then that's how I picked up. And then slowly, last 2 years, 2.5, then my some of my audience was like, why don't you come on YouTube? And knowing my background, like English is not my first language and I'm a shy person, YouTube was like a big scary thing for me to go on. But then I took that dive, and I know I make mistakes with my English on YouTube, but regardless, I went in and I continue to share my passion, and here we are. Like, it's slowly, my YouTube channel is picking up, and people are engaging with my content. They like what I have to say, and so it's hard to build that trust online, but it takes time. Just like anything in life, consistency pays off. So I've been pretty consistent. So hopefully, it's going to continue grow from here on.
Awesome.
I certainly think it will. You have some awesome recipes. Like I said earlier, there's so many. I've made so many of your recipes, and like every time they turn out so good. So for people listening, definitely go check out her recipes because they are on point. So do you have any like background, like as far as like culinary experience, or is this something that you just kind of taught yourself or your mom taught you?
Well, I picked up from my in-laws and from my mom, yes, but I'm from Indian background, so I grew up with a lot of spices and flavors. That's how I enjoy my food. I cannot eat bland food just with salt and pepper. That's just not me. I need that flavor and lots of spices and herbs and seasoning in my food, and that's what I try to add to my meals to keep them exciting. I just want to show people that healthy food doesn't have to be boring and bland. I mean, because it's a long-term commitment, there's no end date to health and fitness. You have to enjoy what you're eating. So that's why I try to show that, you can incorporate all these spices and flavors and food still turns out good and it's still healthy and you can still gain lean muscle mass and reduce your body fat if that's your goal.
Love
Awesome.
that.
Yeah, I was right before we got on. She has posted an incredible video on YouTube as far as like vegan proteins and why beans may not be the be all end all answer. And so you guys should definitely check that out. Check out her channel. I just want to say you're an inspiration. I've recently gotten to know you, but for anybody out there that's thinking, oh, maybe I don't, this isn't my first language, or I'm a shy person, or maybe I don't know everything yet, all of these are still great reasons to dive in and do what you've done because you've built a couple of really successful pages by doing this and by just sharing your knowledge and your heart. And I think that anybody listening to this should be inspired by that because you're right. English may not have been your first language, and social media is its own whole monster that can be controlled and used to do things like this. But for a lot of people, it can be overwhelming. So I just want to say it's awesome that you're doing things to get you outside of your maybe comfort zone because that's where we grow.
Yeah.
And you're doing it, not just for yourself, but think of all the people that you help. So very, very cool.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
So are you doing this full time? I know you said you started this during COVID while you were working from home. What is your situation like now?
I wish I could do this full time, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm still working my full time 9 to 5. This is my stuff
Wow.
I commit to every weekend. I am editing and filming my videos every weekend. I sacrifice my family time and my weekends to continue posting videos on a consistent basis on YouTube, which take a lot of time and effort, which many people actually don't realize how much effort it takes to create a YouTube video.
Oh
So,
yes.
but I love it. I love doing it. So that's why I continue to do it for now until things might change in future. But for now, I can manage one video a week. So I've been doing that consistently for a year and a half. And because of doing that, that's how my YouTube channel is growing slowly. Every time you upload a video, that's when your audience grows, algorithm pushes out your content. So it's slow, but it's working. So I have faith. Hopefully one day we'll get there.
I definitely think you'll get there. But that is just so impressive. I just want to say, like, I am like blown away because I'm doing this full time, and I know John is doing this full time. And I mean, we are absolutely like packed. Our schedules are packed with what we have to do with content creating. I can't imagine being responsible for like a whole nother job and career on top of all of this. And you're so right. Like, people really underestimate, and I'll say specifically recipe creation. Recipe creation, the content behind creating recipes takes a lot of time. And like, yes, it does take time for me to sit and like make a 10-minute video of me talking about like vegan proteins and like, maybe just telling you some tips and tricks to work out. But like the recipes, it's like, you have to show the ingredients, you have to show the process, then you have to show the end product, make it look pretty. It's no joke. I mean, it takes a lot of time. So serious props to you. That is very impressive.
Thank you. And with my recipes, I don't just create recipes for the fun of it because I know there's a lot of vegan content creators out there. That's not my goal. My goal is to educate people around how to modify their diet for a healthier and a fitter body. So my recipes always focus on that, and I will give them tips why I've added this ingredient to this meal to boost up either the protein content or to add whatever. So I try to educate why I did certain things the way I do, not just for flavor and taste. That's not my goal here. My goal is to enjoy what you eat, but also stay healthy, stay fit.
Yeah, I feel like I think we're having some technical difficulties, but we could just keep going until John figures it out. But that's what I loved about your page. And I think I did stumble across your YouTube first. I'm like, I wonder if she has Instagram. And then I looked up your Instagram, and your Instagram's great too. But yeah, you have very macro friendly recipes. And the only other person really who I could compare your page to is Natalie Matthews, Fit Vegan Chef. Is very similar in that it's very macro friendly. Like it's protein intake in mind, and not just like, you would find a lot of high protein vegan recipes, but then it would also be like 600 calories, a ton of fat, and a ton of carbs. So it's like, I mean, yeah, we're getting protein, but we're also blowing out our calories. So is it really worth it? So that's why I really love your content. And it's like you said, eating healthy doesn't have to be boring. Like I'm the same way. I love a lot of spices in my food, and I wish more people, I think that's probably something like, especially in America, like I think Americans could definitely use help like spicing up and seasoning their food. Because that is such a game changer when you're eating healthy. And you take out the oils, the butter, all that stuff, but if you have all of these natural herbs and spices, your food can taste so good. Even just like a veggie stir fry is so good with the right spices. So you can absolutely love your food, feel like you're eating like a gourmet restaurant meal, without eating a ton of fat and calories.
Yeah, exactly.
I
I think
agree.
that, yeah, and I was gonna add that the problem with most vegan recipes, their purpose, I guess, is to attract more people to veganism, which is great. But because of that, they are still keeping their fat content really high by adding like cashew sour creams and like high fat coconut milk and pouring like olive oil like crazy. So all these things are, yeah, they're good, but they're also like a lot of calories. So that's the thing with my audience is like, oh, I eat healthy, but like, why am I gaining weight? Like, it's
Yeah.
because you're adding all these add-ons that are really high calorically dense food. So, most people don't realize it because I think that education also came to me when I actually started tracking my food in Chronometer app, started weighing and measuring and logging everything. And that's how I learned, holy smokes, like that, it's like a big light bulb moment because especially when you measure out a tablespoon of peanut butter, what it actually really looks like versus how I used to scoop peanut butter like crazy. I'm sure all of us did. But when you start weighing and measuring, that's like a whole different game. And I think everyone should go through that in their lifetime to understand how quickly calories add up by just weighing and measuring and tracking.
That's a huge game-changing tip. Most people, even myself, my first few years into getting into fitness, I would use like a cup to measure things. And then I kept seeing people on like bodybuilding forums being like, you need to get a food scale, you should use a food scale. And I was like, but I already measure it. And so I was like, well, let me get one and let me see. And I'm like, I'm going to measure out a half a cup of oats. It should be 40 grams. And I put it on the scale and it's 60. And I was eating like 2 cups of oats a day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to eat a little bit. No wonder I'm having trouble with this cut because I don't realize because oats are healthy, right? And I think I'm tracking, but until you weigh food, you don't really have a clue. And shout out to Tyler from the First Academy, Brooke. He tagged us, or at least he tagged me in this like peanut butter challenge, and he said, I want you to grab a spoon, put your peanut butter on the scale, tear the scale out, and take out one serving. Let's see if you can get it right. And most people just have no clue. I mean, a serving of peanut butter, 200 calories, is very small, and so it's incredibly easy to overeat, even on it could be organic, unprocessed peanut butter, but it's still easy to overeat. So, very, very good tip there for anybody that hasn't tried weighing their food or using something like MyFitnessPal Chronometer to see, are you missing out on any vitamins or nutrients? Like, to kind of segue into something else, like a lot of people are like, I can't go plant-based or I can't go vegan because what about the nutrients I'm going to miss? I'm like, which ones? What are you going to, so selenium from eggs? So you can't get selenium on a vegan diet. Like, come on, like there's super easy ways to just make sure you're getting everything you need, and you'll learn a lot about nutrition as you go. I was having a little bit of a meltdown out here with technical issues about 5 minutes ago. You're talking about YouTube and growing social media. I don't know if this is still the case, but when I was coming up and didn't have a team. I have a team that really helps me a lot now, so thank you all of you. But for me, every like minute of final run production YouTube video, like let's say I put out a 10-minute video, I used to say it would probably take between 5 and 10 hours per minute of video. So it sounds crazy. Like, what? You made a 10-minute video and it took you 10 hours? Or 1 hour per 1 minute. Sorry, I'm off here. But yes, for a 10-minute video on YouTube, it'll probably take 5 to 10 hours of total work because you have to storyboard it, you have to film it, voice it over, edit it down, pick music, pick transitions, maybe pop-ups on the screen, and then watch it all through, export it, watch it again on wherever before you upload it and realize that 4 minutes in you made a slight mistake. So you got to take it all down, go back to the editing, fix that thing, re-upload it all, so, and then promote it. So by the time you're done, a 10-minute video could easily take 10 hours. So yeah, but with you, Brooke and I also started this way. We both started what we're doing now while working full time. So again, further inspiration. Like basically what I'm saying is you've kind of gone the no excuses route. Doesn't matter that I work full time. Doesn't matter this isn't my first language. Doesn't matter if I'm a little bit shy. I'm still gonna commit, like you said, and make some of those sacrifices to pave this way. But also, you get the rewards and the results of that. Your YouTube channel is definitely taking off for 1 post per week. I think it looks great. So I should definitely check her out. It's the same as Instagram, right? Mrs. Slim on Plants.
Yeah, I wish I could change that name, though I'm not very happy about that name. But it's too, I don't know if it's too late to change that. You guys are social media gurus. If somebody were to change their brand, is it too late?
I like it. I mean,
I don't know. I don't like the slim on plants. I would rather be fit on plants. You know what I mean? But I remember when I was picking the name at the time, all those names that I was interested in using, they were all taken up, like fit on plants or like whatever. I tried a lot of different combinations. They were all taken up. So then I got frustrated at the end, and then I ended up picking this one. Because I don't know if you know, on Instagram, when you create a page, it keeps giving you errors that this name is taken, this name is taken. Like I tried a lot of combinations at the time, but anyways, it is what it is.
I wanted to have bodybuilding vegan, but some jackwagon like almost 15 years ago took that page and put 3 posts on there and never used it again. So I became the bodybuilding vegan, but it worked out for me. I mean, it's clearly worked for you. I was going to ask, the best time to probably switch would be now versus waiting 5 more years and be like, okay, I'm going to switch when you have 500,000 followers and subscribers. But I think, is Mrs. Fit on Plants available? If it is, that's not such a big change. It's still pretty close that I think your people would get the move and kind of even maybe see for themselves, like, yeah, slim is great, but fit might even be better. But you do have Mrs. Slim, and it kind of the word goes together well. But anyways, I don't think you'll make a wrong choice here. I think if you keep putting out this quality of content, the name is almost a little irrelevant. I would recommend to somebody, like, don't switch your name 15 times in a week or a month. I don't even know if it'll let you do that, but that might get confusing for your audience. But I think up to you. It's your account. You can do it how you want. I don't think it would destroy your account by any means.
Okay. Well, thank you. Good to know. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah. So when did your health journey start? Did that come around the same time that you went vegan, or did it come before?
Yeah, I've always been on and off into fitness, but I was never really consistent. Actually, when I met my husband in college, that's when he used to work out a lot back then. He used to walk around shirtless off campus with his muscle. And so that's how I was attracted to him, and that's how we met. So when I met him, that's when he introduced me to gym environment. But then again, I was a young girl. At that time, I was just doing cardio, just like anyone else would. And then I was on and off. So he introduced me to it, but I was never really consistent. And I was naturally slim. My whole life, I didn't really have like overweight problem, but I didn't have the muscle mass though. I was like skinny fat. And I think that's unfortunately the cultural background that we come from. Majority of South Asians are skinny fat. So I was just like that. I was just lucky that I was skinny. I wasn't overweight. But then after I had my first son, then I really started thinking, I should get healthy and fit. Then I started changing my diet a little bit, got a little bit more consistent with gym. But then again, it didn't stick around for too long. And then when I decided to go vegan, and that's when I decided, what, I need to change this. So it was like a whole, I just changed overnight kind of thing. Then I just fixed up my diet, cleaned up my diet, gave up dairy. Then I committed to working out 4 to 5 times a week consistently. And I've never stopped ever since. It's been 5 years just putting in the work. And now I love it so much. I can't imagine not ever stepping into gym and not working out. It's become like a huge part of who I am. It's like I can never like not work out, it's just something that you got to do. If there are some days when it's harder to go to the gym, of course we have all those moments, but then when I think about the outcome that I'm going to have as I get older, because now I'm in my mid 40s and I see my aging parents and everyone else that are older, and how you become frail and weak as you get older and all these diseases take over. I just don't want that outcome for myself. And I don't want to be dependent on anyone. I want to stay as healthy and independent as long as I can. So I have to take ownership of my own health, because you can't rely on anyone else, especially our medical system is unfortunately not the best. So yeah, that's one of my reason why I do what I do. It's mostly from health perspective, and then aesthetics follow anyway. When you eat healthier and you work out, it will come through. So and that's my message for most people as well, that if you focus on health, aesthetics will follow. But if you focus on just aesthetics, your health will go down the drain, because from the pursuit of us chasing aesthetics, you will sacrifice your health. So it's not a good approach.
Yeah, it's all about longevity. And I love that in your post that you really speak to women. And it's kind of like, you guys have to wake up. Like, you can't just starve yourself and do a bunch of cardio and wither your body away, because the next thing you know, you're going to wake up and you're going to be an old lady and you're going to have no muscle mass. And, that then you can't take care of yourself, which is huge.
Yeah, and that's what happened to me too when I went plant-based. Actually, that's when I fell into that Whole Foods plant-based community for a while. I went through that rabbit hole and then eventually realized, oh my God, like, why am I still weak and frail? And everybody at the gym used to tell me, Nisha, you need meat. There's no way you can grow muscle the way you eating. It's because I wasn't prioritizing my protein at the time. I thought just by listening to all these plant-based doctors, just eating beans and lentils was enough. And that's what I was doing. And then I was working out like crazy. And I'm like, why am I not gaining strength? Why my lifts are not improving? Why I cannot show any like muscularity on my physique? And that's when I started researching vegan bodybuilders. And actually, I came across your page as well at the time, Brooke. And that's when I realized, like, you guys are prioritizing these other vegan primary protein sources, not just beans and lentils. And that's when I started tracking in Chronometer. And that's how I got the whole education. I'm like, wow, no wonder I wasn't seeing the changes and the results that I wanted. And my body composition was, I still had that weak and frail look, I wasn't gaining muscle mass. And I don't like that, because most people associate vegan people to frail and weak. And I didn't want to be that. I wanted to show them that vegans can also gain muscle and be strong. And I know I'm in my mid 40s and I'm doing it, and I've been able to do it. So if I can do it, if you're a young person listening, you can totally do it, So it's not impossible at any age. It just takes time, but you gotta do it. Like, it takes time. Just stay consistent and eat properly and nourish your body. Don't try to continue to shrink down all the time. It's just not the right approach.
Love that.
So amazing. I just want to say, for those of you that are not visually able to watch this podcast, please go check out her page, because she said mid-40s, but like if she came on and said, yeah, I'm 30 years old, I think everybody would have believed her. So
Totally.
clearly this lifestyle of being fit and being plant-based, clearly it works. You are living proof. And I think that we have both a privilege and a responsibility being kind of this first line of influencers. I mean, I think we really are, at least like with social media, with the internet, with social media apps. Like, of course, there were like newspapers that influenced in the past, or people that wrote books, but this is kind of how the world changes right now. And we are the first line of people doing the vegan fitness route. If anybody knows like kind of some of the history of bodybuilding and weightlifting, back in like the 70s and 80s, football teams were like, oh, you can't lift weights, you're going to get muscle bound, it won't work for you. So people had to go out and show and prove that weightlifting didn't make you muscle bound, it actually made you better. And there's not a single NFL program right now that doesn't prioritize weightlifting as a way to improve their athletes. And so I think what we're doing and what we're showing is that you can be fit and vegan. Like, that's still a misconception that has to be broken. In the 80s, that misconception that weightlifting can't help you in sports had to be broken. And now we're breaking this. And I think, I know my first ever experience in a commercial gym, talking to a trainer, he said, you're vegan, you'll never gain any muscle. And so for you, everybody else telling you, oh, you need to eat more meat, or your doctors saying, well, eat beans and lentils. Yes, beans and lentils are healthy, but it's not the only thing that you're going to need to eat to get the protein to be the fittest, healthiest, best vegan you can be. So very long-winded. I think what we're doing here is really valuable, because in 20 years, I think we'll have a lot more fit vegans, just because people will be like, yeah, of course you can be fit and vegan. Why wouldn't you think that? And so anyways, I think it's really special, the work that we're getting to do. It also kind of a responsibility for us to do this, to pave the way for the next generation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think a lot of the plant-based doctors, I love a lot of the research. I love Dr. Greger. I love all these people. Like, they're fantastic at what they do. But I think a lot of people take it out of context. And a lot of these doctors, they're writing these books for people who are already diabetic. They are on a ton of medications. They're really, really overweight. Like, this person just needs to get healthy. Like, this person just needs like a wake-up call. They're not writing books for athletes, for people who are training really hard. Like you said, 4 to 5 times a week. I mean, that's like an athlete. You're training, you're maybe doing some cardio too. So when you're that active and you are trying to change your body composition, that is where protein comes in. So I think that's a great point. Like, we love our plant-based doctors. We need them too. But we're here to like kind of marry, like, okay, vegan for health, yes, but also like, let's also care a little bit about protein. So like marrying bodybuilding and plant-based nutrition to like find a happy medium. So yeah, I love that approach, and I'm pretty much the same way. I am curious how maybe your family and like your culture responded to you lifting weights and like being a woman and lifting heavy. Were they accepting of that? Were they like, oh my gosh, like, what are you doing?
In the beginning, no, but then now that my results are showing, everybody's like, wow. And I get approached by a lot of South Asian women as well online from my community that are like, wow, I've never thought that South Asians are able to change their body composition the way you have changed yours. They all thought we were just doomed to have unfit and skinny fat look, and so yeah, I love educating them that you can still eat the way you enjoy your cuisine, but just be mindful of all these added fats and oils, and this is how you can change. And I find that after coaching and training, I used to train at the gym for like almost a year, which I don't do anymore because it was way too much. I was working full time doing YouTube. Then part-time, I was working at a gym. So I ended up giving that up, even though I liked training people. But I noticed that most women are scared to lift heavy. They think that, I remember one day I was training this client of mine and I gave her 8 pounds dumbbell to do biceps curls. Her first response to me is like, oh my God, I don't want to get bulky. Right? And then I, I shook my head quietly and I'm like, wow, girl, I wish, like, I've been trying to get bulky if it was that easy, like, and I think not the, even now when I go to the gym consistently, the younger generation, the girls that are in their 20s, they get it, that generation is different. They are lifting heavy, which is quite impressive. But my age group, which is mid 40s, late 40s, nobody's lifting with the intensity that they need to build muscle. Everybody's scared. They think they can get injured. I understand, but slowly, like they think just because they lift weights and jumping around with weights, they're building muscle. And that's not how you do it. So I love educating people on that because there's still a lot of learning to do, especially among women, that don't be scared of lifting heavy weights and eating high protein diet. And that's another fear too among vegans, because of the plant-based doctors that are awesome. Like you said, they've said that high protein diets are causes cancer. So I get a lot of comments on my YouTube videos that you're promoting high protein diet. Aren't you scared of like all these other diseases? And I'm like, no. So it's there's a lot of conflicting information out there, and I can understand why so many people are confused. So I
Yeah.
mean, like you said, we can only live by example and lead by example. So that's what I'm doing, and continue to share that, and hopefully that will change over time. But I really love Dr. Stacy Sims' work and Simon Hill. They are promoting high protein vegan diet, which is awesome. Hopefully that will get more um, hopefully more people will watch them and learn from them, because they have the medical background which you and I don't. So hopefully by listening to these educated nutritionists and doctors, people can make the right decisions.
Yeah. We live, I'm not even gonna lie, when I first got into bodybuilding, a lot of what I learned was reading magazines. That's how long ago I got into this, and now there's so much information out there. And of course, those magazines were full of misinformation as well. That's probably why I copied Arnold and went to the gym twice a day, 6 days a week for my first year. But yeah, there is truth in that study that high protein diets can lead to cancer and other diseases. But what people fail to realize, and probably even people listening to this, like, oh no, all those studies were done on high animal protein contents. So if you're eating high amounts of animal protein, you're eating high amounts of meat and or dairy, and meat and dairy cause cancer. So none of those studies, I guarantee, were done on vegan athletes. So or high protein vegan diets. So I mean, we know that high protein animal diets can cause cancer, but no indication that's going to happen on the plant-based side. And I also did want to piggyback here on, your target audience, people in their mid 40s and up, women. Like my mom, for example, she was saying like, well, I don't want to gain too much muscle, and so I'm probably not going to lift a whole lot. And I'm like, but mom, like you really should lift, even if it's not to build tons and tons of muscle. I mean, yes, you should, but to prevent things like osteoporosis, because if we don't put our muscles and our skeletal system under some forms of stress that create a stimulus to keep strong, healthy bones, even if you get all the calcium in the world and you're vegan, you're still setting yourself up for fractures and bone breaks later in life. So get some resistance training in, even if you just want to be, healthy and not jacked. Still get some resistance training. It's going to help you live a longer, healthier life. So I think it's amazing that you are literally living proof of what someone can do at your age and even older, and being, like you said, that leading example for people to follow. And we just got to change that narrative. People get caught on different things, and I think it's our job as people that have kind of figured this out to share the correct information, or at least to the best of our knowledge at the time. But everything you've said so far, I 100% agree with.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah. Well, if we have anyone listening who might have a similar cultural background, maybe they're from South Asia, would you have any recommendations on how they could kind of like fitify or like make their meals more macro friendly, like their curries and any traditional dishes? Because I do encounter that with some of my clients, they say, I'm Indian, or, I'm Latino, and I love these meals. And this is like, what I grew up with. It is very important to me. What are some ways that you would recommend that they could, kind of tailor their meals to fit their goals?
Yeah, I kind of showed that on my last YouTube video where I made this chickpea curry. So first thing I would do is just be mindful of oil, how much oil you're pouring into that meal. You can still use oil, just measure it and use a teaspoon, and that should be just enough to saute your onion and garlic and ginger or whatever that you need to saute. And then be mindful of added fats again, because Indian cuisine is heavily dairy based, extremely. They use a lot of butter, a lot of dairy, and a lot of heavy cream. So if you're from that background, just replace that with light coconut milk and use half a can. And my favorite is, and I'm sure you guys do the same thing, is silken tofu. You can just blend that and add it into your sauce, and it can still be creamy, but it's just way less in calories, and it's really macro friendly. And then you can just continue using whatever spices you're going to use in that dish. And if you're cooking chickpea, which I did on my last YouTube video, I made sure that I told people that chickpea is not a primary vegan protein source. It's great. It has some protein, but it's mostly carbohydrates. So if you're going to consume that, have it with little bit of a rice, not so much, but make sure to add your primary protein in there. So I added chunks of fava bean tofu in that curry, and then I was still able to enjoy that dish. It was creamy and it was chickpea curry. I had my silken tofu blended in there, half a can of coconut milk, my spices, and it had vegan primary protein source in there. So you got the best of the both worlds. You got your cuisine, your dish. It still tastes amazing and flavorful, but then it's macro friendly, and you can still be fitter and healthier if you just ate that.
Making me so hungry.
Great. Yeah, I'm like, I need to go find that and make that like right away. Oh my gosh, that sounds so good.
Thank you.
So what is like your meals on rotation right now? Like, what are your favorite go-to meals this week?
I love fava bean tofu. I recently discovered it, and it wasn't available near the grocery store that I shop at. And luckily, I reached out to a manager there and I told them, can you guys start carrying this here? I shop here a lot. I would love it. And now, ever since then, they stock up their shelves with fava bean tofu. So I make sure I use that at least twice a week. And then I will make my own seitan at home. So I will add that into my wraps along with falafel. I buy store-bought falafel. I know they're not the healthiest, but we got to balance things out. So I just use that as my base, but then I add my seitan in there to make it high protein and macro friendly, and I make my soy yogurt sauce to pour on top. I've been really loving that sandwich. Even my teenage son, who's now getting into fitness and he wants to grow some muscle, he also enjoys that wrap as well. So I make it for him and I every day, almost every day now. So yeah, and I love oats. Like, oats are my go-to. Like, I no brainer. Every morning I have a bowl of oats. Like, I don't have to think about what to make. I just know it. I enjoy it. And I'm going to just have oats with some protein powder in there. So yeah, these are my go-to meals for the most part. I just try to keep it simple and easy. I know even though my page is about sharing recipes and stuff, I still make sure on my YouTube channel, I let people know that, if you want to be fit and healthy, like, it has to come with a bit of sacrifice. You can't have it all. You got to have a balance, and you have to be consistent. And if you make your mealtime complicated all the time with lavish recipes, it gets overwhelming. So you got to have some meals on repeat that you enjoy eating, just for simplicity and to remove the decision fatigue. And then every once in a while, you can enjoy and try out different recipes. That's what I do as well. On a day-to-day basis, I'm very busy and I don't have the time to make all these lavish meals. I just eat the same meals on repeat, and I like them and I enjoy them. They meet my macros, and, it works for me. So
Love that. Like, anybody listening, if you're that person who says, I can't eat the same thing every day, you have 3 people right here who have pretty good physiques and are pretty freaking fit, and we all do the same thing. We all eat the same meals on repeat, and it makes your life so much easier.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
I'm gonna chime in here. I was talking with Allie, my girlfriend, yesterday, and she's like, when I started coaching with you and you put me on that meal plan, I wasn't gonna do it. I wanted to have variety, so I tracked my macros, and she did. She ate different things every day for like 6 months, and she's like, now it's too much work. I eat the same thing every day because it's easy and it
Mhm.
works and it's food that I like. So I encourage everybody to learn how to track your macros and all those things. But like you said, if you can find easy things that are no brain, I just had a giant bowl of oats myself with protein powder. I love it. I would, if like nutrition didn't matter, I guess, like you still wanted to eat healthy foods, I'd probably eat like oatmeal and cream of rice for 6 meals a day. I don't know. That's
I would agree. I agree with
yeah.
that. I love that.
Yes, and
So
you have some great oat recipes. Oh my gosh. I made one of yours, like there was like an apple, I think apple cinnamon spice, overnight oats. So good. Yeah, you guys need
Yeah,
to look that one up.
thank you.
well, we are about to wrap up here, Nisha. I have one more question for you. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot, so I want you to be honest.
Okay.
How many podcasts have you done before?
Oh, actually, I was on somebody's YouTube channel. It was the same setup, but it was recorded and then published on YouTube. So I don't know if you would consider that a podcast, but actually, this would be my first if this is the podcast. So thank you
Yay!
for having me.
I just want to say we're honored to have you on here, and also you did phenomenal. I think people are going to be like, "What? No way!" Because I guess that's the thing. When you're on a podcast or like giving a presentation in class, it used to be I'd be presenting about, I don't know, the element whatever, or I was John F. Kennedy one year in like 5th grade. But anyways, like not that John F. Kennedy wasn't a good president, we shouldn't learn, but like it wasn't like my huge passion. And so I think when we're speaking from the heart, it's kind of easier just to get out here and do it. So anybody that's listening, you guys can do this too. Nisha, you are awesome. You clearly are speaking from the heart. I think you're helping so many people, both in your immediate circle. If nothing else, your husband's going to live a lot longer by being 80 or 90% of the way there, but also everybody else that runs into you. You are an example of what any woman would aspire to be like. And so I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come on here with us. You guys, please go support her. Follow her on Instagram, subscribe to her on YouTube. We'll put her information in the show notes below so it's easy for you to find. But Nisha, I just want to say from me, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you so much, both of you, for having me. It was such a pleasure. It was such an honor as well. So thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome.
Thanks.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps up this episode. And make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to give us a like, comment, and share with all your friends and family. And we will see you guys next time on the Vegans Who Live podcast.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Vegans Who Live podcast. Please, please, please support us by taking care of our show sponsors. They are a huge part of our success. They take great care of us. First, we have Green Bites Go. You can use code #VegansWhoLive to save 25% off your order. That is the biggest deal they give literally anywhere.
And we also want to give a special shout out to our supplement sponsor, Veg Nutrition. And you guys can use code VegansWhoLive to save on your order. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any other episodes.